3, 2, 1. Holy cow. Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. In today's video, I'm gonna be showing you how to create a wooden stool for your workshop using the castle joint. The castle joint is extremely simple to make and really strong, which is why at the end of the video, I'm gonna be dropping more than 100 pounds on this stool to see just how strong it truly is. So without further ado, let's get into making it. For the legs, I am using leftover walnut I had lying around from a previous project. To get the legs to be a perfect square, I set my table saw guide 2 1/4 inches away from the blade, and then I ran all 4 sides of the walnut through. This process cuts away all of the excess wood, leaving you with identical sides all the way around. The next step is to take your freshly trimmed walnut posts and cut out 4 legs that are all the same length. I cut all of mine to 20 inches long. After cutting the first leg, I used it as a guide for the next 3. Once all of the legs have been cut to size, I move on to the bracing that will support the top of the stool. If you want to create a square stool, you should cut all 4 of these strips to the same length. However, I decided to create a stool that was a rectangle, and so 2 of the strips I cut to 12 inches and the other 2 I cut to 18. To start the castle joint, I needed to find the center of the legs and marked it with a pencil. I then took the center of a brace and lined the 2 points up. Once they were positioned correctly, I scribed the edges of the brace. Because the braces will sit in the joints, they have to be flush with the top of the legs once they are seated. So I lined up the legs and marked how deep the braces will sit once the castle joint is completed. Using a brace, I lowered the table saw blade to the correct height. And then using the leg that was marked, I adjusted the fence to the correct depth. Once everything was in position, I attached the legs to my tenoning jig that I created out of scrap wood, and then ran it through the table saw. If you would like to see how I created this jig, I will leave a link to the video in the description below. To get the castle joint, you do have to run the leg through on all 4 sides. You can also do this step by hand, but it just takes a little longer. After all of the cuts have been made, you need to remove all of the pieces except for the outside corners. This is easily the most satisfying part of the entire process, and something that I should have specified earlier is that the braces that I used were 3/4 of an inch thick, which make removing the chunks extremely simple because I can use a 3/4 inch chisel that fits perfectly in between the gap. Clean up all of the edges and dry fit one of the braces to check your work. If you're happy with it, the next step is to mark the brace so that we can add a half lap joint. To create a half lap joint, I will be using a dado stack that is the same thickness as the brace pieces themselves. Once the stack is set up and ready to go, I use my table saw sled and fence to get the same cut for all of my pieces. When cutting half flaps, it's important to cut a little less than halfway through the piece and then check the fit. If you need to, you can always move your blade up a bit. Once all of the braces were connected with the half lap joints, I then dry fitted the legs on all the corners to check the fit. If there was a leg that was too tight, I removed it and chiseled out a bit of the inside corners until it was able to sit snugly with the braces. The original plan was to simply cover the top with a slab of walnut and pin it to the legs, but I really liked the contrast of the cross joint and I was really proud of how it looked. So instead of covering it up with a piece of wood, I ended up going with a small piece of plexiglass. And to support the plexiglass, I had to add 2 small braces in the middle of the stool with some brad nails. I then adjusted the table saw to the correct length and width and cut the plexiglass to the size of the stool. To pin it down, I used copper nails that were 1 inch long and placed them in not only the legs, but also the braces. And now the stool is ready for use. But really, how strong is this stool? Now, before I drop more than 100 pounds on top of the stool, I want you to know that I am very confident in the wood itself. Not so much in the plexiglass. Actually, thinking about that, give me a sec. There we go. Now I am a little bit worried about my weights breaking because those I can't fix. The stool, I can fix the stool, can't fix the weights. So I'm really hoping that this doesn't damage my weights, but we'll see. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Holy cow. Well, this thing's okay. Let's go.